was getting ready for this season of the podcast, and like so you guys know the whole theme of the podcast this season is sitcoms. So each week is going to be based on a particular sitcom, like Girlfriends, Friends, Family Matters, Bridgerton, Scandal. We have a different world, so many different sitcoms that we're going to be talking about over the next 8 episodes, because it's only going to be 9 episodes this season. But over the next 8 episodes, we're going to have a different sitcom that we're going to be discussing each week. So originally, the podcast was going to be based off a different world. That's what it was going to be. Each week, it was going to be one of the African-American Greek organizations on here, but that just never set with me, and I was never able to really get into that. So one night, I'm out on YouTube, and I came across Coach Lowe's short. And when I came across that, one led to 10, and then I kept watching his stuff, and then I looked him up on Instagram, and I just knew in that moment that this guy is someone that I was going to have on the show. So then once I got through the whole trying to figure out what the theme of the podcast was going to be, Girlfriends came to me. And then Coach Lowe's, he's a relationship coach. So that was like a perfect fit. So I reached out to him. You guys know how I do it. When I find someone that I'm, inspired by, I always reach out to them and see if they'll come on the show. And this guy was like, yeah, just tell me the time. And we're going to go ahead and bring him on out so you guys can get to meet him. Coach Lowe's, what's up, man?
Hey, not much, man. What's going on, John?
No, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great, man. Every day is a win.
Every day is a win. So tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Well, I'm a certified life and relationship coach, right? And I help people either fix the relationships or learn how to get the one you want.
So
let me throw that in there.
So what made you go into that?
Oh, man, my own life journey. I think discovering yourself and what you want to do in life is everything. And I think sometimes we hit the nail on the head with those kind of things. We go through our own challenges. So for me, it was across 12 years, 3 different invested relationships, if you will, and the pitfalls you go through with those. And I never like to call them failures because, you only fail if you don't learn and apply it. But just they ran their course, and there's a lot of challenges through those. And it was really me trying to do the big stop button when I got tired of getting the results I was getting, and really wanting to, break the cycle for myself and figure out why am I getting, the relationship results that I have currently, and why they're not improving now. And the thing with that became a challenge for me is because none of those relationships were ending for the same reason. So it wasn't like the obvious pattern, but ultimately I realized I am the centerpiece to the results I get. And so it was through my kind of transformation I went through and worked through a lot of things I didn't know were there that need to be worked on, that when I came on the other side, I blossomed, if you will. I just realized, man, I really want to help other people get to decide the tracks of life that I'm on now. And so initially I was just a life coach. But as I started going down that road, a lot of times it's hard to get people to really want to invest into themselves and really do the work when it's not tugging on the heartstrings enough. And so what I started noticing was a lot of people that would want my help or were listening to advice I would have were those that were coming from a space of heartache. And so I realized, man, that's the same exact thing that made me change my life. So I really started doubling down and really building out my relationship coaching skills, or, in that regard, and then pulling from a lot of my own experiences about all my training and all those things. And here I am 4.5 to 5 years later, and it's been an impactful ride.
Nice. So let me ask you this here, because this is what some people always tend to think, that marriage is the prize for dating. So if you're a relationship coach, you've already won. You married, you got kids, the big house, picket fence, and all of that. Now, how do you get that a lot? Do you get people asking you like, are you married, or like what qualifies you to be a relationship coach? Do you get that?
So it's funny you asked that. Actually, nowhere near as much as I thought I would. I think a lot of people that follow my content and so forth, they get a lot of value from it. And I think a lot of it is pretty transparent and straightforward, and it makes sense. And I think anything that I usually do speak on, you can follow the trail of what I'm trying to speak about and reproduce those results in your life if you really apply them appropriately. So I don't get that question often because I think people are really, consumed with the actual value that they're getting from the content. But I'm always open and willing to answer those questions that people want to ask them. But yeah, I actually don't get it as often. I see it every once in a while strung through my comments or whatever the case is, but it's not a commonality. I think people want to get results at the end of the day. And when you are hearing something that sounds different than what you've heard before and it's connecting for you, and it's like, wow, this might be a missing piece that I haven't uncovered yet. I don't think you're so concerned about necessarily who it's coming from as long as it makes sense and you can apply it and get an actual result. Now obviously you don't want to just listen to anybody. I'm the first one. I'll tell people as a coach myself, don't go seeking advice or listening to someone blindly that does not have the results or living the lifestyle that you want to live. But, as far as quote unquote credentials and all those things, I think it comes back to, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's really, like I said, it's kind of sad because people automatically think, because I think, like, for me, dating is a fun process. You get out there, you're learning something about yourself, learning something about
Yeah.
someone else, and you're doing some new stuff. And I
Mm-hmm.
like in your book you said something to the effect that when you set in boundaries, you shouldn't set so many boundaries that you're not open for new opportunities and new
Mm-hmm.
adventures in your life. And that's
Yeah.
what dating does. But so many people are in it to win it. Like in
Mm-hmm.
marriage, it's the prize. If they not married
Yeah.
and you're not headed down that path,
Yeah.
then I'm not winning here. So
Right. And you make a good point there, right? And here's my thing with that. And look, I'll be the first to say, even here, I'm not married yet, right? So, for people that feel that has to be the end goal. Now, Grant, don't get me wrong. Me and my lady, we're absolutely on that road, right? That's where things are going, and it's going to be there. It's just a matter of time, not too long from now, probably. But at the end of the day, if you're harping on the marriage piece, fine. If that's a requirement for you, okay. But it's always the why. Like, why is marriage the final destination for you? Why is that the essential? Why is that the must have for you? Because when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, we really are here seeking an experience with a companion often, right? And marriage is a elevated next level of that, I guess you could say. But even still, nothing gets away from two people existing in a committed engagement. In that, if you want to call it that, right? Whether you're someone that wants to be just a lifelong just partner, whether it's a spouse or what have you, what's required to make you happy and get the results you want in that regard, right? When you start putting the marriage label on it, maybe we're situationship, whatever you want to start calling it, is it what you need? And is it going to get you to the finish line you're looking to get to? And if that is a marriage, fine, but put more substance behind why it must be that.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I love that. I love that. So let's talk about the evolution of Coach Lowe's, because you started out that, and then you wrote a book, your
Yeah.
first book that was released earlier this year.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Oh man. So I guess where do I begin there? So, I've been coaching for, like I said, this 4.5 to 5 years at this point. And as I keep going, I'm always trying to figure out how I can serve more. Right. Like, how can I keep up in the ante? How can I reach more people? Because I'm one man. And so, I have a lot of clients that work with me, but that's one at a time. So I'll be opening up a coaching community and so forth to help more people in that way. But I'm always trying to keep my ear dialed into what my audience is really looking for to help them most. And I think as a coach, it's a challenging journey sometimes in the beginning when you're trying to figure out how to help people best, because you have got to one place, right, to where you're living results and get your certain representation of what people are looking to get to. And so if you're coming from that space, you already have a foresight as to, okay, this is what I know people need to know, learn, and build the skills on to get where I am. But you have to also realize everyone's not at the same space you're at just yet. They haven't revealed some of the things behind the curtain for themselves. You can't come in with what they just need to that degree yet. You have to meet them where they are and help them walk their journey to get there. So for me, it was, the book came along because as I kept trying to look, and every once in a while stop and look at my statistics on my content and what people are gravitating towards. And I put little filler questions out there to say, hey, what do you guys want to learn? Like, what, if there's something if I'm not mistaken, the very post I put up for my book, or at least what brought me to the book, was a post that asked my community, hey, if you can learn anything, one thing that would change your dating or relationship life forever, what would it be? And I got an overwhelming number of women that were commenting, hey, learn how to spot the red flags from men, how to, get rid of someone literally said, how do I spot the real deals from the jokers? Hence the joker proof dating part, right? So I was like, okay, got it. And, because for me, first thing I'm going to do as a coach say, all right, hey, you have to teach you relationship fundamentals and all those other things. You need to learn that. That's what most people come to me for. But lo and behold, my audience was looking for that at the time. So I said, okay, this is what they want. Then I'm going to go and use the best tools and skills I have and experience and put that into a dating format for women, at least, right? By the way, I'm not opposed to making a book for guys out there, just in case anyone wants to know. But most of my followers are women. I think 95% of them are women, versus 5% that are men. So I try to make sure I'm feeding what serves my audience best, and so that's how the book came about. And I went ahead and dove in.
Nice. And we're going to tackle your book and I'm telling everybody it's amazing. So let me ask you this here, Coach. So say, for instance, there's someone, because when I read your book, it's for the dater. It's for the people that are the ladies that are actively dating.
Yeah.
But what about the like what gets you there? I'm ready to mingle. How do you get to that place that they are ready to pick up your book and learn it? I mean, and apply it? Because, you have those people that came out of relationship, and you mentioned this in somewhat of your journey in the book. You were talking about how you were dating this one woman, and she brought it to your attention that you were talking about your ex a lot. And in that moment, you realized that you really weren't healed yet, and probably shouldn't have been dating. So for those people, how do you know when you're ready to mingle again?
Yeah. Well, shoot, you just said it. We're not talking about your ex no more. No, but really, that you are really healed and ready to get back out there whenever you are fully autonomous on your own. There's no remnants left from that previous relationship that has an emotional impact on you. Whenever you are recounting events or memories, your ex isn't always heavily tied to whatever comes out of your mouth. Because even with that example you just gave from the book, with that particular person I was dating, I had no intention of really bringing my ex up. And I really wasn't thinking about my ex in particular when I was bringing her up. She was just so much a part of the experiences I was having at that time that when I explained an experience I had, she was a part of it. But what I didn't connect and didn't realize that I wasn't really healed fully at that time was that there's a difference between then and now. If I were to explain one of those experiences, and I probably use more I statements, right? I probably say things that are like, I was here at this place, and then don't have to mention my ex for that unless she's a pivotal part of the story to where I can't mention it without her. But I didn't see that every time I would mention something where I could have left her part of it out, she was in there. So I think whenever you can reflect on past experiences, you can speak about your life, and it's not heavily inclusive of your past partner, positive or negative. Because see, sometimes people will get back out there and start dating, and they start talking like, gosh, my ex used to do that too. I couldn't stand it. And they always pull the ex into their journey as far as what they're speaking towards with someone that's new. So there's that. And then there's when you don't have emotional triggers to where, you're talking with this new person and they say something that puts you on defense really fast because it mirrors or at least seems familiar, like something that happened in your past relationship, right? That was not so positive and they meant nothing by it. And then there's the other piece to where if you are operating a lot differently than you did in that previous relationship, to where now your defense is up a lot higher, you're way more anal now, or even like we talked about from the book, if you have boundaries to the high heavens now, that's a sign of wounds that are not healed fully yet. You still have some inner work to do because you're trying to build up these barriers to protect yourself from experiencing something you haven't fully brought to rest. So whenever you get past those kind of places, right, and you start getting back to a life that's full and fulfilling, that's when you're ready to date again. Because, and I would say this, right, before even getting back out there on the market after a breakup, it's bigger that you make sure your life is set right this time to go forward. Because look, you can heal, but still not be living a life that's built to get you the best result with a partner, right? So before we even get back to let's get back out there in the pool in the mix, let's figure out, all right, what's gonna be different this time? Now I've healed and everything, but now is my life set up in a way that puts me in the best position to get a partner and be the best partner for someone coming in? Is someone going to want me as I am, right? Am I developing my life in a way that makes me a full circle circumference of a human being that someone else is going to benefit from being with? And therefore I can attract someone that I would benefit from being with. That's when you know.
Nice, nice, nice. And yeah. Because I think like in those that are single that are watching the podcast, you probably can attest to this here. The dating pool is so polluted now with people that are not healed, and they're out here and they're saying they want to be dating, but they shouldn't be dating. And then they get with someone that needs your book to identify the red flags and identify, hone into their intuition and so forth. And it just make dating so difficult because you have to go through all of these bad people to get to someone, hopefully at least mediocre. It's bad, man.
And here's the thing, though. You say that, right? And it's true if you haven't done the proper work on yourself first, right? It's like everyone, and that's how you reach that dating burnout place, right? To where you're like, man, I'm out here, there's no good guys left. Oh, it's just a whole bunch of all they care about is sex or whatever. And then you have like the men, all these women out here just want someone to take care of them and all sorts of stuff. Well, yeah, of course you're continuing to get that repeat result because you haven't adjusted, right? You attract what you're in harmony with. That never changes. That's just the rules of the universe, physics, and so forth, right? And so polarity is a thing. So whatever you're in the same frequency as is what you will draw to you. Now, people sometimes get confused on that because they think, well, I'm not out here being a jerk. I'm not out here using, women like these guys that I date are, so I shouldn't be attracting people like that. But it's polarity, not exactly the same. Just because someone's operating some way, or at least the people you date, the dating pool that you deal with doesn't mean it reflects that you operate the same exact way. It just means the way you operate attracts them and vice versa, right? So it comes back to, if I keep getting the same folks, I keep digging through all these people so I can find someone that's decent, then that means you haven't gotten refined on your vetting skills. There's some part you haven't evolved to learn on your own yet, so you can start identifying things better. And remember I said, set your life up in a way to where you'll put yourself in a better position to attract more ideal partners.
Nice. Okay, so Willie said you should match energy. Either relationships ain't win or lose. So you should match energy. Yep. You should match energy.
1000%.
And Tony D says, for some, marriage is a religious teaching. Yeah, some people believe that is their calling and their purpose in life.
Yeah. And look, and with that, right, that it all comes back to value, compatibility, right? And then we have values is a big part of that. And your values consist of your principles and your morals, right? Those are the things that things like spirituality and so forth is tied to. And so if you're going to actually attract someone or be someone that's going to fit you in a better light, then they have to match your value structure. And if you are heavily spiritual and that's a really big importance to you, you need someone that's on that same spectrum, right? Now, I think with things like that, given the dating pools as they are now, let me put this out there too, right? I'm never one that believes in or gives them too much attention to, oh my gosh, just, how like you have a lot of men to women, the ratios are heavily lopsided, right? In most popular cities and so forth, for major cities, there's a lot more women than there are men. And you say, well, then on top of that, it's not that many good men and all these other things there. Well, I'm never going to be concerned about the masses of numbers whenever I'm looking for the one, right? I'm concerned about how do I become the best version of me to be the one for someone else so that I can attract the one to me. You cut all the numbers out when you do that. People are spending more time trying to follow formulas, if you will, and trying to do the right thing when you're dating. And they take this like kind of base frame and try to use the same repeat formula against different folks. Can't do that, right?
Yeah.
And so it becomes one of those things. But to that point about those values, it's, well, okay, hey, am I getting aligned on what all those things need to be for me? And am I creating the life I need to live as a result of that? And that puts me around other like people.
Yeah. And some people get offended when they hear that statement, we attract who we are. And I
Mm,
think the thing that because they may attract some, well, I'm gonna use that. So there are some people that are not good for them that are attracted to them. They
yep.
find them attractive. The
Yeah.
thing is, once these people come into your life, the question is, are you going to entertain them?
Yep.
That's when that whole yeah. But we're gonna get to
Yeah.
that too. I'm getting a little bit ahead, but yeah, we're gonna
Hmm.
get to that too.
Yeah.
So in your book, man
Hmm.
vetting, you said
Yes.
you can vet them in 10 to 15 minutes. You give them to it.
Absolutely.
How is this? Is this on your first date or like your third or fourth? Like, how do you vet in 10 to 15 minutes?
You can absolutely do it in your first date. It absolutely can. See, here's the piece. It's not so much about if a woman can vet a man on the first date, even a man vetting a woman, right? But it's not that a woman can't vet a man in or out of her life in the first date. It's a matter of, do you want to actually listen to the signs and the things you're seeing that tells you this is a no-go? Or do you want to lean on your desire and what you want and wanting to take that square peg and fit it in that round hole? Or are you willing to actually listen to the signals you're getting and act accordingly? That's the question. But as far as the how, it's simple. Intuition, right? And see, a lot of times women think that, oh, what? Of course I have intuition, but that's not the answer. But see, what people don't understand about intuition is it's not just this, mystical, what sixth sense or seventh sense, whatever sense it is, right? That you just tap into and you do all these amazing things with it. It's an actual sensory system we have that is conformed by your subconscious, right? It's put together by that. It's really a collection of all those subconscious signs and cues that your mind picks up on that your conscious brain doesn't catch overall. And it stores that information over time. And that's what triggers you whenever you see something that doesn't sit right, something that doesn't align with you. And then it lets you know something's off, gives you that gut feeling and all that stuff. So, what I'm saying that to say is your intuition can be trained, it can be improved, it can be built up to be foolproof, right? Joker proof. And so, it's more about how am I doing my individual growth? How am I building me and living a certain way and working certain signs and things into my subconscious so that when I'm out on a date, the right signs that usually you may not see with the guy that's dressed with the nice suit and he's got the smile on his face and it seems like he's, a winner, right? Will still let me know when something's not making sense. You start getting levels deep with it. So you absolutely can vet someone in and out. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna say it like this. Now, obviously I'm a guy, I'm not a woman right now, but whenever I got to the space I got to of that kind of an enlightenment, if you will, that kind of breakthrough that I haven't had a toxic person, or I'm in a relationship now, but back then I didn't spend 2 seconds dating any women that were toxic at that point. I haven't had a toxic relationship ever since, right? First date, I already know whether it makes sense for me to keep dating you or not. Now, this thing's funny. My lady, because you attract me to harmony with, right? Same difference. Boy, you not getting past the first date with her unless you're really that kind of guy that's gonna be serving for her, right? You be chopped really quick, and she was chopping through people pretty quick when I came along, right? And so it's absolutely possible. You just have to know how to build and prep your intuition.
Yeah, and I think too with intuition, and I think that's because intuition and insecurities can blur your intuition. You have to have
Mm-hmm.
clarity, and it comes from that being in a healed space.
There it
We
is.
have already worked through your past ish that you've gone through in relationships, because I think that's the problem why some both men and women they overlook things because they second guess themselves.
Yep.
They see it, it's clear as day in front of them, but they'll say, well, am I feeling this way because of what someone else did? And then they overlook it or not follow through with it, and then they
Yeah.
find themselves 6 months later in situations that are no good for
They're
them.
no
I
good,
think that's
right?
why it's so important that you take the time to heal
Yeah. You
after
now,
every
yeah.
situation.
Nail on the head, John. And, and the thing's funny, it always comes full circle, right? This is why it's all about the better you evolve, the better you'll be to vet through men and all those things. Because, like you said, if you're not coming from a fully healed space, then yeah, you're going to go into. So there's a few things happening here. You go into the date. If you're not in a fully healed space, you might have some insecurities about yourself and your worth and your value, to where now you're in front of this man and you're feeling like, well, I don't want to mess it up. I need to prove something to him, right? Yeah, I'm enjoying him enough, but I need to make sure I don't lose this guy, right? Or you have the reverse side, to where you go into the situation and you don't trust your intuition because you know you're really guarded, and you know you tend to overreact on small things maybe, and you're worried that maybe you're overthinking or overanalyzing something this guy did and ruining your own dating experience. So then you let flags that you should be calling out go by and you keep on moving, right? And the biggest issue is people, period, in dating, but definitely women can be guilty of this a lot, is moving with a scarcity mentality instead of an abundant one. And you can never live and think in an abundant manner if you still have voids that don't feel fully whole and like you're a prize worthy of thinking abundantly, right? You'll always think scarcity wise. You'll always lead with fear, right? And fear is not something we're supposed to lead ourselves with. Fear is a training wheel when you're young and before you understand the world, or before you become enlightened, you have wisdom. Once you start to have those things, you're supposed to shed the training wheels and lean into faith, right? But it's hard to lean in faith if you don't believe in yourself fully, because you haven't fully gotten there. You're not sure.
Yeah. And yeah. And I think, oh, it is so good. I think a lot of times too, we're afraid we feel like we're going to lose something if we walk away from it. And it's like buying a new car or something. You go to the dealership, you always go in there. If they're not going to give you the deal you want, you have to be willing to walk away from. I don't care how good it drove or whatever. If it's not what you want, you have to be able to walk away from it. And I think that's what keeps a lot of people in the very beginning. They think that they're afraid to walk away because they think they're losing something. But what they don't realize, eventually you're going to lose you.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing, that you don't lose you in that situation. So
yeah. And you know what? And that's a byproduct of, see, when you do what I do, the gift in it for me, right? Like I know a lot of people appreciate what I help them do and all the, the results I help them get. But I truly mean it from the bottom of my heart. It's a gift for me to be able to go on the ride with these people, because I get the position that few people ever get to have, which is I'm working with people from all around the world. I mean, I literally have clients in other countries right now, and down in the States, all over the country here, and everything else, right? And the thing that's cool about that is you really get to see all of us are the same, working with the same issues, just from different cultural positions or different places in the world. But it starts to create a collective truth for you that helps me coach better, because I can laser down to what like the obstacles are a lot better, right? And so I say that because 9 out of 10 times, somewhere in some twisted way, it's a self-love obstacle for people. And so everything you just said, spoke to, it jumps out to me. I see it so fast these days, because when you're saying that to me, people get so scared I'm losing something, this, that, and the third. And so therefore I'll press on and look past the red flag. Well, you only do that if you don't love yourself enough the right way to choose you over something you know is going to put you in a bad position later.
Yeah. So that, and that's a whole nother podcast too. That's a whole nother podcast.
Right.
Like you said, choose you, because from birth we're always taught to be selfless. We're always taught to be selfless and never selfish. And a lot of us we struggle putting ourselves first. We struggle putting it. We're always looking out for somebody else, or overlooking it, or showing empathy, or making concessions for people. If there's somebody new in your life, you don't make no damn concessions for them. You either fit in or you ain't getting in. One of the two. But so Tony got a question here for you. He said, what's your thoughts on the male leadership role in a relationship?
Oh man, I love this one, right? And actually, I was going to tie this into part of that vetting man part piece as well. But the role of a man, in my opinion, right, and what I've come to understand and learn, which got me the best results in my relationships and anyone that I've coached to that degree, is the role of a man in a relationship is to lead, right? Ultimately. Now, why do I feel that way? Because we have energy bases, right? We have masculine energy, we have feminine energy. And as men and women, we share them both, right? And so when you look at just now, obviously men and women can There's women out there that sit more in their masculine sometimes. There's men out there that sit more in their feminine, right? You can go either or with that. But typically, traditionally, and majority-wise, men sit heavily in their masculine, women sit heavily in their feminine. They are polar opposites, right? They polarize each other for a reason. And masculine energy, if you understand it, is built around challenge. It's built around, problem solving, achieving, go out there and building something. That's why a lot of men love to feel like the champion for the woman in their lives. Like, I can go solve problems for you, because that's the energy base we sit in, right? And so whenever you sit in that energy base, your value structure is going to also align differently than your counterpart. So as a man, you're going to pride going out there to take on things and build and so forth, because on a primal level in nature, right, it's like going out there to take on the wildebeest, right? That's like the idea of it. And then on the other side, you have a woman, which is in her feminine energy, which feminine energy is about nurture, connection, bonding, right? It's why women are such the glue for the family, and they're great at, taking care of the home and women and the kids and so forth in there, right? And really building community. I mean, just look at all of the women empowerment communities and conventions you see. They collaborate often because that's the energy base. They're about building community. So when that's the case, if you're going to have a dynamic where a man and woman are going to be successful in this partnership, in this kind of arrangement, if you will, somebody has to take care of one side of the tracks while the other person takes care of the other side of the tracks, and it blends together. So when you talk about a man, he feels best. I mean, any guy can, correct me if I'm wrong, but we feel great as men when we feel like we are the king of our castle and we're holding it down. Our woman's taken care of. We feel like I'm that guy, right? We're not, like I'm on top of the world. And so when that's the case, that comes along with leadership qualities, right? Leaders sit in positions like that. And whenever you're in that position, your woman, she wants to follow. That feminine energy naturally tends to want to follow masculine energy, not because they can't lead, not because they're incapable of doing certain things. Obviously, we have just tons of even homes out here. We have single mothers that are out here doing the job of both, right? And they can lead very, very effectively, right? But it's all about, what do you want to do? Does your feminine energy want to have to, lead the home and make sure everything's good and make sure everybody's protected in that way? Is that what you want, or is that what you have to do, so you do it, right? Men, we take to that. We're like, yeah, give me the challenge. Let me go wrestle something. Let me go take it on. Women tend to like to be soft and more in the nurturing space. They love to be caretakers a lot. Not saying that's all they want to do, but they take to that really well, right? They're really good at it because they're energy based. So a man is to go out and provide, is to go out, set direction for the home, not dictate, but set direction, bring a sense of calm, peace, and order to the home, right? Structure. That's what a man's role is in the home.
Nice. And guys, just so y'all know, so I mean, Coach Los is leading me into places we haven't talked about what we're talking about tonight. He can attest to this.
Yes,
we
didn't
talk about anything. This is all organic. But before we go to this next thing, so Marquita said, I love that shirt. So Coach Los, she loves your shirt. She's a fashion
Thank
guru.
you, Marquita. This is my little outfit I used to wear when I'm off on like a vacation somewhere, and it's it's in the evening, so I figured I'd get comfortable, But thank you, I appreciate it.
Nice. And then Coach Dance with Julie. She's been on the podcast before. What's up, Julie? She said, then why are there so many selfish people out here?
Oh, I love that question. So that's because so many people don't know who they truly are. In the simplest way to say it, we, for those of us that believe in a higher power, a God, or so forth, right? Universe, if you want to call it that, right? We are all made to be on a love frequency. That's why it's the very single reason why we all love to give love and receive it. You ever think about that, right? Humans out here, everything we do is to meet our needs. And every day that we operate out here, we're out here trying to do something to meet a need towards pouring love into people or feeling love back in return. We're tribal by nature. We want to have close friends and family, significant other. Love. Give it, receive it, right? And that's because that's what we're built to be, right? And people talk about like, universe or God and things like that. And they say, well, first thing you ask, hey, what is God? Who is God to you? What is he symbolic? What is he the ideal of? And what would you say, John? If I say, what's the ideal of God? What does he symbolize ultimately?
we do the love. We gravitate to love. Yeah.
Right. So you say God is love, right? At the end of the day, and so therefore people say we're made in His image and all these things, right? So you come full circle. You say, well, we love it so much because we are it. And I love this question I ask people when I work with clients and that's maybe struggle with self-love. And I say, well, tell me, when did you first become love worthy? And they're like, I don't know. What makes you love worthy? Well, because I do these things or whatever the case is. And I say, well, you have your daughter. When was she love worthy? Oh, soon as she was born, right? So it's like, how do we all know that someone's love worthy as soon as they hit the planet, unless that's what they are? So the only way you have people out here that's so selfish is if they have not grown to know who they really are and live in that. And a lot of times people are selfish out of their own voice they're trying to feel, and they're trying to take care of themselves, trying to meet needs in unhealthy ways. Well, I could go on for days about that stuff.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's just hop right on back to this. So this is what I'm talking about when I say we are not, this is completely organic, because this was the point I read in this book. I read in your book. Yeah, because when I read in your book, it's a couple of spots where you mention feminine energy. So there's been guests on the podcast before that have made mention of feminine energy, and they were crucified for that. They were crucified for it, because when people look at feminine, when women, these were the ones who crucified him, when they look at the word or the phrase feminine energy, they look at it as being submissive. And submissive is, for women, some women, they feel that it is viewed in a negative way. Yeah. And they also believe that if they believe they're losing or suppressing a part of themselves to accommodate for a weak man. So if they are having to be submissive, because some women, they're just strong women. Yep. And I think if men are smart, they will find the usage for their strength in their life. Find the usage. But a lot of times women believe that they have to suppress themselves to make him feel more masculine,
to accommodate him, right?
Yeah. So
yeah. I was gonna say, when I hear that, that's the first sign you're with the wrong man. If you feel you have to suppress yourself so that he can feel like more of a man, then you're with the wrong man. Now, the other side of it goes, is it that you need to suppress yourself so he feels like more of a man, or have you been sitting in more of your masculine energy than you want to sit in because maybe of past experiences, maybe the men in your exes are always maybe more in like a softer energy. Maybe they're more in their feminine energy, because look, we have masculine and feminine energy in all of us, right? We share them both. We need them both. Just like I said, hey, a single mom has to be able to tap into that masculine energy sometimes to bring some order to the home if there's not that father figure there to do so. Just like men, where a lot of times we get it wrong, we cannot connect to our women properly if we're not in a good bond with our feminine energy. We need ours, right? The reason why so many women complain about men not being emotionally available is a lot of men are too lopsided, weighted into their masculine, and are not tapped into their feminine at all, right? So we need them both. But if a woman feels like she has to play herself down, then yes, you're with the wrong guy. But always ask yourself first, is it a matter of that, or am I sitting in more of an energy that I don't even naturally want to sit in as much, and I would prefer to sit back in more of my feminine energy as long as he could step up? That's the question to ask yourself first. And if the answer is the latter, where, okay, if he could do the right things and I could sit back, then it becomes a conversation of how do we navigate that if he's capable of doing such. Because, look, he may not be a man that is wired that way. And see, here's the other piece, too. I speak about masculine and feminine energy and men leading, and women following, right? And I guess you can put that under the lane of submission and so forth. But all households are not created equally, right? Not all created the same. And so you do have some women that it's not a matter of them being more defensive and feeling they need to be more masculine. Maybe they grew up that way and that's been what they've become accustomed to, and that sits best for them. Fine, but you don't want an alpha male then. You don't want a really masculine man because you sit in more of that energy. Feminine, masculine energy needs polarity. They will do not work if it's too much of the same energy in the household. The reason why a man loves to have his woman is where he's out there being in his raw and his mass energy, taking on the world. When he comes home, he wants the opposite of what he is. He wants the softness. He wants the nurture. He wants the yin to his yang, and vice versa. With
So
women to men.
does a man have to create a safe space for a woman to be feminine in her feminine energy?
1000%. Of course.
I think that's from a lot of women. They struggle. They don't feel safe. They feel like if I step back and be in my feminine energy, he's going to drop the ball.
Right. And see, so here's the thing. And this is, well, one, see, this goes back to the book, right? Joker-proof dating. It's not about just finding the quote-unquote jokers, the guys out here on some nonsense. It's also about, am I picking up on the signs that says this man sits in his power, right? So where I can feel confident to trust his lead and lean back. See, I always say this to women. A man's biggest strength when it comes to dating is that we can go out there, see a woman we want, we can go get her. We can go read, we can go approach her and so forth. But a woman's biggest strength in dating is she gets to decide who she chooses to accept, right? All we can do is shoot our shot. She gives the green light. So if that's the case, it's all in your court to make sure you are choosing a man that you feel comfortable following. If you don't feel comfortable with that, he's not your guy. Keep on moving. But you make a good point. A man does have to make sure his woman feels safe to let her, sit back in her energy. Now, and this is where I also say where a man has to lead, right? See, oftentimes, this is 50-50 in the relationship in the sense of effort. Both parties should be putting in 50% of the effort, half the effort. But it is not an even split in how those roles play out. It's just not, right? Because a man that leads is proactive. He takes the forefront, which means, because a lot of times it's like the chicken or egg thing. Men and women, they get caught up like, well, I'm not doing this for her and being that because she's not doing this for me. And then she's like, well, no, I ain't doing this for him because he's not whatever, right? But I always lean to the men first. I say, hey, you're here to lead. Your energy's built to do that. Right? It's natural for you to sit in that more. So you should be championing for the conversations to make her feel, comfortable. If she's giving you too much masculine energy back, then all right, have a conversation as to why. Understand where she's having a concern to trust you to sit back in her feminine and let you go ahead and take the reins. Because see, leading is a privilege, not a right? And a lot of times men don't understand that because they feel empowered by the idea of a woman that's softer and in her feminine energy following him. But really, she's giving you a privilege to do so because she doesn't have to choose to follow you, right? So it comes to one of those things where, yes, a man has to provide a safe space for her to be able to sit back and do that. But a woman that's with a man that she loves and feels she wants to make it work with and doesn't feel he's stepping up to do that, then now we need to have conversations to put your concerns on the table, have some examples of the kind of solutions you would like to see that would help you feel more comfortable sitting in your feminine and present that to him. And then if he's able to embrace that, then you go from there. And if he can't, right, if he's unwilling or he can't, then maybe we need to start discussing if you're with the right guy.
I like that. So Tony came back. He said, lately, the women I have dated wants to play the male role. Tony, maybe you might need to create a safe space for them, man. Maybe create a space so they can feel comfortable with letting you lead, brother.
Well, look, let me say this. So it's two things though with that, right? So one could be a matter of, hey, create a safe space, but are you giving off the right masculine presence to where they come in feeling safe up front or feel like look, masculine energy is very in your face, right? Feminine energy is more covert, if you will. So masculine energy is more inclined to a woman that's around a man that's truly sitting this masculine in a certain way. She's going to naturally sit to her feminine because she's feeling safe just by the presence and the way you're moving and operating. So ask yourself, am I showing up is in my power, my strength as a masculine man? But then you got to ask yourself this, have I evolved and gotten to a space for myself to where I can actually attract more feminine women if I keep getting women that are all masculine or sitting more in the masculine energy, I'll say.
Okay. So yeah, we're gonna have to get you back on here, brother, because we got a lot going to talk about. So red flags. What are some red flags that women tend to overlook? Like, what are some? I mean, I know I read your book, so share with everyone else. What are some red flags?
Oh man, we could do this for days, but So I'm gonna go to the ones that aren't as obvious. I mean, there are some really obvious ones, but I think one of the bigger flags a lot of women miss, because the dating market can be challenging, it can be difficult, it can be oversaturated and all that, is a man that actually is walking in his purpose. He's actually building something towards his purpose, right? And so the red flag would be whenever you're out there on the date with a man, and yes, he has a career, maybe he's doing some things, he may be making some money and all that stuff, which is all fine and good, but it's not towards something bigger than himself. That's a huge flag that a lot of women miss, because the dating pool can be rough for guys. They're like, man, I keep meeting guys that don't have jobs and they're this, that, and the third, and I'm just glad if he is put together decently and has some decent money. That's a win. I can work with that, right? It's still going to land you in a position to not be happy. Maybe you won't be happy with resources, but you still won't be happy, because a man living and operating through his purpose, through his calling, if you will, is a man that is guided by more significant principles and morality than a man that's out here chasing goals. See, the very reason why a lot of women wind up with men that maybe they're highly successful, making a lot of money, but they're always the first ones talking about he's cheating on her all the time, is because he's mostly guided by success and the accolades versus something that has a bigger meaning. When you work for something that's a bigger meaning, you're more particular about not letting side things pull you off your path, because it means a lot to you. So that would be one big red flag. I think a man that shows up and says he has a vision for something, but doesn't have any groundwork laid for that yet. We do not date potential, date someone that's actually on their road. They don't have to already be there with all the accolades and gotten to the achievements already, but are they in progress? Do you see the building blocks laid, and are they actually living it? I think another red flag is when you see a man show up in how he, at least we're talking about the first date, right? Since the book is usually mostly written around that first date. So when you go on a date and a guy is, one, if he shows up late with no kind of explanation as to why, doesn't give any back into it. A man that shows up on an actual official date looking for you guys to go 50-50, looking for you guys to split a bill.
I bust out laughing on that. I mean,
I mean, hey, some women are like, hey, they keep on moving through that, right? A man that does not ask you anything of significance about you on that first date. Not saying it has to be super serious, but if it's not actually asking you questions that requires you to give some thought of an answer, so you can learn some level of you, to know, yeah, it's still lighthearted, I'm still just enjoying you, but I want to know if me investing my time with you makes sense for another date. If he's not doing that, it's a flag. See, most women wouldn't see that as a flag, but you really got to pay attention. Is he asking me questions about me, the basics? Oh, what I like to do with my hair, or I like to, watch on TV, or is he asking more things about the person that I am and what makes me tick? Little things like that, and trying to learn some more in-depth things, because that speaks to, this is a man that's out here with intention towards building at some point. He maybe hasn't reached that place of knowing if you're the one he wants to do that with yet, but he's at least asking questions to find out, because at the end of the day, she's trying to get to that quote-unquote marriage finish line 9 out of 10 times, right? So you want to see, is he showing the signs that he's asking questions, that driving conversation and kind of steering things in a way that's like probing to see if you make sense for him on that level. Is he looking past the beauty and past just trying to, be pleasant to you, right? And I'll say this, like a lad, we can keep going on red flags forever, but as a one other red flag I'll throw in there is the man that kind of comes off as like the yes man. But you know how it goes. And I've been there too, one point in time when I was younger and out there, I started dating, and I'm trying to just like, oh man, I want her to like me. She's beautiful. I just want her. So, you laugh a little bit harder on that joke that wasn't that funny to you, right? And everything she says, oh, she can say nothing wrong, right? It's like, oh my gosh, oh, you're so funny. Oh, you're so great. If you feel like you are just God's gift to, women for him, it's usually a flag. If there's no sense of he has his grounding, you have yours, and he enjoys you, but maybe some things like, I'm not so crazy about that, but I love this, right? It has to be some balance there. If he's too Joe about you on the first date and you're just perfect, it's a red flag.
Wow. Okay, so I have a question to ask you. This is from your book. So, if this is truly a red flag, you listed it as a red flag, but you said if they are inconsistent with who they present themselves to be online, you said like they're outgoing and charismatic online, but
Mm-hmm.
when they get in person, that they are like kind of like quiet. And you break it down to like why you did that. But do you
Yeah.
think like social media and texting and all of that has hindered in-person interaction? Could they just like be not like a in-person person? They just I don't know.
Oh, I mean, listen. See, to what you just answered their question, right? You just said, could they not be an in-person person? Well, it's going to be a little hard to have the relationship experience you want if they're that. And see, and this is why I always tell any of my clients I kind of work with that are trying to, figure out, learn the tools and things to find that ideal partner is I will never push you towards online dating sites. Right now, there's nothing wrong with them. I don't shame them. I was on them at one point in time in my life way back when.
Absolutely.
But as I got to a space I've gotten to now, I learned how crippling they are, and you being able to get the actual experience you want. See, you got to think about it like this. Yes, some men and women are very busy. They don't have time to necessarily be out and about on the scene wherever they need to be to actually meet people. Maybe they need to have a profile up to say, hey, this gives me another opportunity, another avenue to meet someone. All right, great. But just understand the moment there's that extra layer of separation. See, it's one thing to walk up and someone's right in front of your face. But if now we go from that to an online arena to where now it's another added layer I gotta weed through to understand who you are on the other side of this phone. I don't know if necessarily your pictures could be fake. All these things could be going on, and you're giving me all this personality. It doesn't show you have the social skill when it matters most. And for a woman, an experience is everything. So if a man can't be in front of her in his power, but he's all that online, but when he's in front of her, he's all quiet and he's kind of awkward. This is not a man that can actually make sure you think about it. We have to mix it into other lanes, right? If he shows up and he's very quiet and he's in the pocket and he can't, stand out for himself, then what happens if you guys are facing some challenge or something comes up and you need him to stand in the flames and really sit in his presence? If he doesn't have the presence with you, is he going to flip a switch all of a sudden with actually a threat or something like that, or something where he needs the champion for you guys in the home? It doesn't fall through transparently. And here's the thing: masculine energy doesn't lie. A confident man, it doesn't lie. If he's confident and he's online confident, when he sees you in person, he's going to be confident. There's no way around that. He's not going to all of a sudden be quiet and awkward. If that's the case, he has more work to do. If he could be one version of himself online, but can't be that in front of you, he's not ready.
Nice. So we got a lot of comments. This chat is on fire. So many of us make red flags look like six flags, and it has to stop. We have to be more aware as women. That is true. Julie, very true. I had a man talk about his purpose, but that was all he did was talk.
Yep.
Wow. Let's see here. I saw some earlier. So Marquita said, yes, there are some men with feminine energy. I define it as acting catty like women, matching the energy in a way that the women does. Yeah.
Yeah. 1,000%.
And let me see, we're going to read one more. Marsha Woodruff said, how do you transition from the stronghold of the learned behavior of putting others before yourself? How do you transition from that?
Of putting others before, so transition from that?
Yeah.
From the
I guess putting yourself, making a decision to make you first.
Oh, I mean, I think you have to really double down on, am I living a life that reflects my personal self-care? Right. So whenever we're putting others before ourselves, it's because we built a muscle memory, a habit system, a paradigm, if you will, of putting others first for whatever reason that it served us, right? Because look, we only do these type of things to meet needs. And so I always say like this, any act we do, anything has a positive seed of intent. Doesn't mean the act itself is a positive thing. It could be very unhealthy or whatever, but the seed of why we're doing it has a positive seed of intent because it's there to help us meet a need for ourselves. So at whatever point in time, however long ago, we have things that happen that we learn, okay, I need to do this, or maybe someone told you, hey, put others before yourself, and they set a tone as it's a negative thing to put yourself first way back when, and you adopted that, and maybe you get positive results because you see how it makes you feel when you're doing for other people and they're getting good results from it. It makes you feel good and like, oh yes, I'm being, I'm being a good person, or I'm being a love worthy person, and all these things. And so then you start to make that kind of like your superpower, right? The person that can come in and swoop in and save and help others. But everything requires balance. So once it's out of balance and you're doing too much giving and you're not seeing the same result or intangibles for your life, then now you got to say, all right, then where is the same level of effort that I'm putting into these other people into my own circumstance, right? What does my self-care routine look like? What does my daily practice? What is the filling my glass up first look like before I go back and continue to give, right? And here's the other thing too. For people that really do get caught up in the, switching from always doing for others than more to myself thing, and it's a hard transition to make because it feels like, oh, I'm being a horrible person now. I'm not stepping up like I used to for them, and this is messed up. I always say, here's your saving grace. You have to always ask yourself, what is my core reason for wanting to do these things for other people in the first place? And most people will say, well, I want to help them, anything else, right? You want to do something that's serving to them. And I always say to my clients and anyone else, serving means it's positive for me, it's healthy, it feeds my spirit, it's growth oriented, and it builds me up. If I can't check a yes mark to all 5 of those, it doesn't serve, right? So it's not about right and wrong, does it serve? And so most people say, well, I do this for people because I want to serve them, right? And so you have to ask yourself, can I really serve them best? Is it really about them if I'm not willing to put back into myself so I could be at my best, be at 100% to go serve them versus that 50% because I'm always giving too much to them? Then you have to ask yourself, is really this about me serving them? Is it about them? Or is it really about me wanting to feel good for what I'm doing for them? Because if I want to say I'm really here to serve them, then I owe it to them to take care of myself first so I can then be great at serving them second.
Nice. So we are at the end of this podcast, but we got one more thing we're going to talk about. Coach Los, we're going to have to get you back on here, man, because there's so much to talk about, man. So crafting the man you want. This is one of the chapters you use to close your book out. Share with women, how do they craft the man that they want?
Yeah. Love it. So first, it starts on getting clear about what you actually do need, right? What is the ideal man for you? But the piece here is you have to craft him out on paper, right? See, people, and I didn't, I don't judge anyone because I know it took me a while to get to the space for myself until I started doing it myself. But you have to write things down when you're really trying to visualize something out. It's not enough to think of it in your mind. It's not enough to know it up here, because how many times we thought of really great ideas, we had another great idea, but there's so many of them when the other one behind us in the back of our mind kind of gets lost and slips to the shadows. Put it all on paper. Help your brain out. So when you write things down, your brain gets new information from what you put on paper. So you might have all these great thoughts. Once you put them down, you see them. It allows you to free up space, RAM up here, right, to think of new things while you see the old things you put down. You come up with even better ideas. But I say this because women so often say, oh, I want this great guy. You don't know how many times I've had women on calls, on coaching sessions. And I say, okay, what's this ideal man you want? And they say, well, I just want someone, he has empathy, and good morals, and, communicates well, all these things, basics, right? But if you really want to craft the right man for you, you have to visualize who is that man and put him on paper. Break him down. What kind of career does he have? What kind of schedule does he operate in? What's his workout schedule like? What's his diet like? What kind of morals and principles does he have? And how's that translate into the type of events and social places he puts himself in? When he gets done work for the day, where's he go to relax? Does he go to the club or the bar, or does he go to more in an elevated lounge, right? Where's he spend his time? Whenever he's not working on his career or his purpose in life, how's he like to give back? Does he go to charity events, or does he just go home and sit on the couch, right? Like, craft that man from the top to the bottom as to what all those characteristics that you want him to have and those values, what they break into an actual tangible person. And one of the best ways to help you with that is you turn and look at who out there is already a representation of that ideal man you want, because that gives you a great starting point to see how someone that you want looks in real time, real flesh, real tangible possibilities. And then that allows you to say, okay, here's how my man needs to look for me off of that model. And now I get to start asking myself the best question: how do I make myself the best version of me to attract that man?
Nice. I love it. I love it. I love it. And for those that are out there, tonight I'm giving away one of Coach Los's books. So we're going to have him to come up with a question that you guys answer. Los, you can think of that real quick, something that they can answer. And whoever gets it right, you'll get one of his books. It'll be delivered to you tomorrow from Amazon. Well, wherever from Amazon, however you're supposed to live from Amazon. I can't control that thing. And then also what we're doing this season, so I want to definitely give a shout out to Yolanda Hargrove. She designs my shirts and she designed this. So each episode this season, I will be giving away the shirt, not this shirt that I'm wearing, but a copy of this shirt to someone out there. So once Coach Los does his question, I'm going to come with a question, and whoever wins this shirt will be mailed out to you this week as well. Not this one, but one. Okay. Well, not this week, but one similar to it. Love it. Coach Los, what you got for them so they can answer this question and win this book?
Yeah. All right. I'm going to ask this one question that I always like to ask because, people's answers are always interesting. But what is the single most important job you have in a relationship?
Okay. Y'all put your answers down there in the comment. That's the copy of the book on the screen, Joker Proof Dating.
Yeah.
And I tell you guys, it's amazing. It's a quick read. Let's see here. We got some answers coming here. To be a helpmate. Okay. Let's see what we got. Be present. Let's see. Communication. To be a supportive partner. Okay. Any one of those ring a bell yet, Coach Los?
Yeah, actually, that one and the first one are pretty on par. I mean, and I sum it up into one phrase because it encompasses everything that comes in it. Your number one job in a relationship is to serve. You both come not to get, but to give. If you both are giving, you both receive. And so, yes, obviously, if you're going to come in to serve, you're being a helpmate. You're being a supportive partner. You're learning everything about them as much as you can. You learn what their flaws are, what their strengths are, how you can support that. You learn how to communicate to them in their communication style and vice versa, right? You learn what you need to do to help them feel reassured. You learn what you need to do to help them feel excited and vibrant in life, what they need to feel loved. You learn what they need to feel significant and like they matter. You learn how to help them grow, and you learn how to contribute to whatever fulfills them in life. Serve.
Nice. And my screen is locked up over here. Let's see here. But okay, so Marquita, I do know Marquita answered it first. And what we'll do, Coach Julie, we'll get you a book as well. So Marquita and Julie, since you guys gave the same answer, we will get you a book out. And I'll just post a question on my Instagram for.
Uh-oh. John froze. Well, I guess until John comes back, I just want to say anyone that does actually pick up a copy of my book outside of the one, the giveaway that we're doing here, if you read it, please take your time with it. No need to rush through it. It is a short read. I did that intentionally. But take your time with it and you will get way better results from it, way better takeaway from it that will help you tremendously in your dating lives, if you will. Oh, and we lost them all together. I just got my book in front of my face.
Coach Lowe.
There we go. We lost you for a minute.
Right, StreamYard, you owe me a credit. Like, for real, this is crazy. So, okay, so Marquita, we will get that out to you guys. Marquita and Julie, we will get that out to you guys. And Coach Lowe's, give them another question. And for the shirt, we'll go with that too.
Okay. Let me see. All right. So, what's one of the most important things that a man needs to know about you if you're going to date him?
That's a good one. So put the comments down there. Ask that one more time for us, Coach Lowe.
Yeah. When you're dating a man, what is one of the most important things that he needs to know about you? And I'll take 2 different answers for this, by the way.
Okay. Did I put God first? That's what Julie said. Let's see here. Marsha, your truth. Okay.
Yeah.
As told by Victoria, what boundaries are. Okay. What else we got? Let's see, Shonda. Let's see here what we got. That I am big on communication.
Okay.
I'm going to take like 2 more. So, Coach Los, can you hear me?
Yep, I get you.
So they asked the question, where are you based?
So right now I'm down in the Carolinas. From Pittsburgh, PA originally. But yeah, I'm down in the Carolinas, down south, down here.
Cool. So Coach Los, did any of those answers ring for you?
So yeah, they're in the ballpark. But you know, I'd like to something, laser if you can. But I'd say the biggest thing, it is so important, and it goes into so many other things that a man should know about you is that dang, we lost him again. I guess I'll tell you guys anyways. The biggest thing a man should know about you is that you know your worth. It's so crucial that he's aware that you're aware of how valuable you are. I can't stress how essential that is, because in his knowledge of that, he's going to know how important communication is to you. He's going to know how important it is to pay attention to the boundaries that you express to him and that you tell him. He's going to know that you actually put God first, right? Or you're big on your spirituality, right? He's going to be aware of these things because you're going to operate, move, and speak in a way and carry yourself in a way to where he must pay attention and know these things if he's going to have the privilege of continuing to occupy your space and court you, date you, what have you, right? That is the most crucial thing, because understand, men based in their masculine energy, right? Which means we understand challenge, we understand going to go problem solve, we understand going to go, I have to go do to get, I have to go, accomplish to have. We understand value from what we have to show up as. So a man will value you most when he understands that you know your value. And it's not just like he can see it, he knows you know it, so he knows he has to show up to have it, right? So important. And the other one I was going to say that I would accept is that he needs to know what you are looking for and where you're looking to go, where you're trying to land that plane for yourself in life. Just as much as it's important that a man has his path and purpose laid out, it's important that you know and he knows where you're looking to go, so he knows if he can lead you there and if you want to follow him, all those things. But mainly, he has to know that you know your value.
Okay. So which one would that be? Would that be your truths or what my boundaries are? And that I am a communicator. And then, okay, and then Julie said that I put God first. So
Mm-hmm.
are those, which one would you go with?
Run through them real fast. I feel because.
Okay, so that I put God first, your
Mm-hmm.
truths, what
Mm-hmm.
my boundaries are, that I am big on communication.
Mm-hmm. I'd say the closest may be the boundaries. Yeah, that's the closest one because it's the closest to your value, right? Because your boundaries are there to protect and preserve your value. Now, granted, a lot of us have boundaries that we don't honor for ourselves. So, you got to make sure you stay on those boundaries, but that's probably the closest to it when it comes to a man knowing that you know your worth. Boundaries are a good start for that.
Nice. So Marquita and Julie and Victoria, DM me on Instagram your address, and I'll get this shirt and those books ordered for you and sent out to you guys. And Coach Lowe's, I am so appreciative of you coming on the podcast, man. This has
Absolutely,
been
man.
simply amazing, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's been great. I love good discussions, and when people chime in any way I can serve, I'm here to do that.
Absolutely. We're going to definitely get you back on. And everybody, we will see you next Monday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to have a different show, different guests, and so forth. But we will see you next Monday, hopefully with no glitches in the system. But we'll see you next week. Until then, peace.
Absolutely.
Coach Lowe's.